Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Thank you for tuning in to this month's Developer Coaching News Edition broadcast. I'm Tara Van Cleef, and I'll be your anchor, bringing you the latest updates straight from the Oracle product teams. Before we dive in here, a quick reminder, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A anytime during the session, and also let us know where you're tuning in from today. All right, we have a fantastic lineup of experts standing by to cover today's top stories. On the line, we have Chris Rice, SVP of Software Development, coming to us live from New Hampshire, and Alejandra Casas, Senior Principal Enablement Specialist for OCI AI, who is tuning in from Valencia. So let's jump right in. Chris, we'll have you start. What is the latest?
Perfect. So last we talked was January and database 26 was coming. Well, now it's here, it's there. You can go to oracle.com, download it for Linux, of course. It has a lot of interesting things in it for developers. There's vector search, which probably gets the majority of the headlines, but not to be outdone, there's also property graphs. So property graph has been in database for a very long time. But what's new is now you can use SQL to access and define those graphs. And then there's other things in there like true cache, iceberg support, and then another marquee feature is JSON duality views. So if anyone hasn't looked into duality views, what it really lets you do is it lets you interact with the database through a JSON document, and that JSON document is automatically shredded and constituted from relational tables. So what this means is you can have your normal schema, which has been around for who knows, a decade, 2 decades. I talked to a customer yesterday. Literally, their schema was defined in the 70s, they said. So predating Oracle even, but they just kind of carried it forward and carried it forward, and the apps kept using it. But now what you can do is you can go in, and there's tooling in SQL Developer for this. You can go in and you can start defining a duality view. And that duality view is simply SQL across your schema. It could join 1 tables, 20 tables, whatever it is you want. It creates that relational or JSON duality view over the relational data. And then you can fully interact with the relational schemas through JSON. And then to carry that even further, ORDS, Oracle REST Data Services, lets you get REST APIs to and from that JSON duality view. So you can basically do a get and a post, an HTTP get, an HTTP post, put, delete against the duality JSON file, and it will automatically take effect to the real relational tables underneath, which is where the actual data lives. So just watching the QA go through real quick. I'm just going to say I'm in New Hampshire, so Pats didn't have a good offering this past weekend. I saw a Seahawks comment. Um, the So the power there is you can go to your front end developers, your folks that traditionally have been using Mongo or anything like that, right? And you can say, hey, here's a JSON format for interacting with the Oracle database where all the normal security, all the normal things are in place, and you can simply interact with JSON. It's a very cool feature. If you haven't tried it, try it out. Next thing, Golden Gate had a release last month as well. So Golden Gate, if you haven't dealt with Golden Gate before, Golden Gate is an awesome way to synchronize systems, to do ETLs, to do data, keeping databases in sync so that you can have primaries and standbys and all that kind of things going across multiples uh, uh, from a SQL server, I think, or MySQL to an Oracle and all that. So they released a new release last month. It comes with all AI goodness, of course. And specifically, if you're using multi-cloud, which we're getting a lot more customers using multi-cloud, which is the Oracle database, but in GCP or in Azure, so that you can have that same Oracle database inside your, not sure what their words are for tenancies, but in our world, it's called a tenancy. Inside your corner of their cloud, you can have an Oracle database running on an Exadata. And then, of course, it supports Database 26 AI, the newest version. It is available also on the Oracle Container Registry. So if anyone hasn't been out there, the Container Registry has Docker's containers for a multitude of products. So there's Golden Gate out there, the database is out there. If anyone needs WebLogic, it's out there. I think the autonomous team has a containerized version of autonomous shared, autonomous serverless. We have Dockerized versions of ORDS, our REST server. There's a lot out there, pre-packed, ready to go. And then, of course, Stream Analytics is supported as well. And again, this is just my take on what might be most interesting. So another thing that just went out last week is I've mentioned FreeSQL a number of times, and I'm going to mention it a couple more times here. If you go to the Oracle documentation now, you're going to start seeing run buttons directly in the documentation. So this example here is associative array indexing by string. So if you go look up this in the Oracle doc, and there's about a dozen examples now out there, and they're just going to keep rolling and more will be added. You'll basically see this run button. And if you click this run button now, it'll literally take the code snippet that's there that's trying to teach you what this section is about and take it straight over to FreeSQL where you can actually run and execute that snippet, that learning piece of text directly. So the idea here is we're trying to lower the bar and making it easier and easier for people to learn some of these concepts with Oracle in general. So if you're perusing the documentation, whether you got there from a Google search or if you're just looking through, the new feature guide or whatever, and you see something, traditionally, of course, there's been code snippets in the Oracle documentation for years, forever, I think. But some of those code snippets have been truly snippets and not reusable in total, right? Like they might imply that there was a schema that existed so that the snippet could run. It might be a snippet of a PL/SQL versus a complete PL/SQL block. So we're working with the doc team to get those code examples that are in the doc reusable in its entirety and link it straight over to FreeSQL so that you can take that sample, be up and running with that sample, and then, of course, change it and morph it and learn and push the boundaries on what it can do. Very cool. It's going to be, we're going to go as fast as we can to add more and more all over the place through the doc. So then I started looking through all the OCI services and what was new out there. So the console itself has gone through major overhauls, as everyone has seen, from Redwood, um, or from non-Redwood to Redwood, and then many iterations internally. We've done stuff, but there's been major upgrades across the console. So anyone using cloud, maybe it's just intuitive and it kind of you don't pay attention too much, but there's been a lot of work and a lot of detail gone in to try and make the console better, more intuitive, faster, more consistent across the board. But even more important than that, I put a URL in here. If you go to that URL, and you can even ask your favorite chat agent of the day, Claude, Grok, all Gemini, all of them. If you go to this page, it lists all the changes that have happened in OCI. So if you just scroll down through here, right? So this is literally yesterday. And if we scroll down just randomly, I don't know if we have anyone from Malaysia on the phone. Hopefully not. I think it's like 1 a.m. over there. There's a whole new region in Malaysia now. And that was just this month. MySQL added backups. Operational insights for HeatWave has been deprecated. This is a really good resource to go check and see. And again, you can ask your chat agent du jour, summarize me what Oracle has done, summarize which services I might be interested in. There's a lot of information in these pages, and we try to pick and choose the ones that are most interesting to talk about here. But there's a lot that happens that will never make the news reel, if you will, right? There's just so many moving parts. So now to pivot back to database 26 for a second and FreeSQL. So on FreeSQL, as I think I've mentioned here before, if you come over here, you can get a proper SQLnet connection to the database. So you can connect with Node. We give you snippets of what the code would look like, Python, Java, Go. You regenerate your password, and it basically generates you the snippet to go talk to the database. The reason I pointed that out, if you want to try out Vector and you don't have a database 26 and you don't have time to install one and you can't upgrade your production database, go to FreeSQL connect up to this database. It's a 26 database. So this is something I did last week, I think it was. Uh, Probably like everybody, I have tons of pictures laying around from years and years ago. And all I did is I wrote a chunk of Python code. The Python code walked this directory of pictures and it engaged an LLM and said, write me a summary of the picture and then create a vector embedding of that picture. So in free SQL, you can try out vectors, vector search, similarity search today. So if you don't have time to get that database set up, get it going. It is Dockerized, it's pretty easy to get going, but even easier is not setting anything up. You can come over here, sling some Python code, some Node code, Java code, whatever you want, and you can be up and running with vectors and kick the tires today, this afternoon. And then the last thing I'm going to point out that again I've mentioned many times on here is these MCP servers. This is extremely active. You can see lots of check-ins just 4 days ago. We had some other ones come in. So keep an eye on here. If you're working and thinking about, how do I hook up my AI agent framework? I'm leading into the next topic. How do I hook these things up to the OCI control plane? How do I hook them up to a database? How do I hook them up to something? Keep an eye on this repository because they're coming out more and more here. And this is only going to continue to grow. And there's more we can see here. I've got 21 pull requests I have to go review and merge in. So it's highly active. Keep an eye on it. I think that's it from my side.
Alrighty. Thank you, Chris. So let's start with introducing the one of the latest releases. Okay, when we are talking about AI, right, or trying to build our solutions or build AI workloads, right, and moving that to a cloud provider like Oracle, right? Dealing with different customers or discussing with different customers, we identify different problems, but are common patterns that we have seen in there, right? The first one, when you are trying to build AI solutions, again, regardless the cloud service provider, one of the problems what we identify is the fragmented data. And when we are talking about enterprise, right, it's like a huge problem. All the data is scattered across applications, solutions, services, endpoint, just name it. And we have been doing like a great job on this. So Chris, let me know, and because you are the specialist in data, right? I'm not. We know that your team has been doing a terrific job with, Oracle 26 AI. I'm bringing those AI capabilities to the data, right? Can you tell me a little bit more, just with a few words, how we are really helping our customers to build the AI solutions using 26 AI?
I mean, there's
Just
a
a few.
there's a lot going on, right? So honestly, one of the biggest questions I get from customers is we know we want AI, we know we need AI. AI is the future, but we don't know how to get started. So
That's right.
a lot of what you have in this slide here, even, right, is we talk to the folks up in the upper left there with the data, but really it's about the entire ecosystem, right? So a lot of what we're doing is we're just trying to make sure the database plays as well as we can inside a picture like this, where there are multiple data sources. And maybe some agentic framework reaches across multiple sources and is kind of the glue, if you will, that pulls the sources together. Maybe it orchestrates something like a Golden Gate and then does the ETLs to put them into a single lake house. Um, Maybe there's a security governance play where I want the identity propagation to go through the whole thing so that, Fred in finance asks a question. Well, the fact that Fred in finance asked the question should be through an audit log all the way down to the raw data that was happening, that was accessed, right? So it's a big world, and we have to take it at its potential and think about what truly is in play. Because the other thing that I've told people, to your point, is everything and nothing changed. So what I mean is we've always preached data security. We've always preached minimal permissions required. We've always preached identity propagation. And this little bubble you have in the middle called AI development amplifies that a millionfold. Everything we've been preaching, practicing is a million times more important than it ever was.
I completely agree. And you nailed it, because something that we have seen is that we have doing a great job, with the data, right? Helping enterprises and customers to make sure that we can help them to build the best in class data ecosystem, right? But one of the problems that we are seeing, as you mentioned, is security and governance, right? Auditability, tracking, and building the entire infrastructure to support those AI workloads that consume that data. So these are primarily the major problem that we find, right? Is the data, security and governance, auditability, different tools that you are trying to connect, and everything is doing manually, right? When you are trying to connect to an API, where to try to connect to a data source, everything is stitching all together, but it's manually. So when we here at Oracle, we ask, or we wonder ourselves, what about if we create something that can reduce that stress and friction on onboarding different AI solutions or building your entire infrastructure on top of OCI and on top of Oracle database? So that's what we are trying to accomplish in here, is make sure that we deliver business outcomes fast. We can just pack the best practices, right, and blueprints that you can leverage out of the box without going through all the overwhelmed process of setting up your infrastructure, picking up libraries, going through different large language models. We do all that for you, okay? And everything built on an entire OCI ecosystem, an Oracle ecosystem. That is why we come up with what we call the AI Accelerator pack, right? This new service that has been launched in January 15 is our new offering to help enterprises and any company, for that matter, to start building their AI infrastructure. As Chris mentioned, when we meet with customers, it's like, hey, we want AI, but we don't know how to start, right? I don't know where I have to start with the data, where I have to start with the libraries, blueprints, large language models. So they need some help on that, trying that jumpstart on how they can start building the solutions, their AI workload. And that's pretty much what we are trying to do in here. It's like, okay, if you want to start building your AI solution, but you don't want to go through that stressful process of dealing with the infrastructure, the AI Accelerator pack is for you. So you go through the OCI console, and I will show you that in just 1 minute. You pick up one of the different packs that we offer. A few clicks, complete, your admin password and some settings, and we deploy it through the resource management, everything to you. What the Accelerator pack include? We have different kind of packs, right? And this will be continue growing as part of the ecosystem, but we offer as part of this bundle, compute, GPU storage, networking, databases, GenAI services and AI services, third-party libraries, open source libraries, and NVIDIA AI Enterprise. So depending on the approach of the solution that you're trying to build, let's say that you want to leverage some of the GenAI services that you have with us, with OCI, and you want to start building like an enterprise-rack solution, we have a pack for that. Just a few clicks, and we deploy everything for you. You will want to start using some of the NVIDIA blueprints like AIQ, or where it is QOP, that are one of the most famous libraries and blueprints that NVIDIA offer right now and our customer are consuming. You just pick up the pack and we deploy everything for you. That include the compute, the networking, the OKI cluster, the database, the services, the libraries. We deploy everything, okay? Within pretty much what take to deploy an OKI cluster and set it up, that probably is 45 minutes in average. You click, you deploy everything. After 45 minutes, you get the different URLs to access the management console of the solution, but also different services or different links that help you to go through this security, governance, and auditability of the entire solution using Grafana and using Prometheus. So we offer the entire stack. Not only will we give you just a library and endpoint so you can use it, we offer the entire stack so you can start building your AI solution on top of the Accelerator pack. Right now, as part of this new launch, we offer 3 main packs, right? We call these bundles. The first one is using Enterprise Rack, okay? either with AIQ, that is NVIDIA Blueprint. That AIQ is like a custom AI research using NVIDIA nemotron okay, that help you to build the entire knowledge base for your company. The other pack is what we call video search and summarization. This VSS is a solution that help media companies to start building and customizing video analytics solution to detect or to identify content within a video. Just let me give you an example. We have one of our customers that tried to, within a certain amount of time, they try to capture some of the frames or details of a video, right? Let's say that you have one video that is 1 hour, and because there are several regulations, in this case in Europe, that certain content cannot be shown at certain time of the day, right? So we need to have an analyst that review all that content, right? And flag what we could be harmful images, right? So this VSS blueprint, what it does is try to reduce the time of analyzing all that video. Okay, let's say for 20-minute video, 25-minute video, using VSS, rather than take over 25 minutes to review frame by frame or the entire image, take about 1 minute. So we are helping media companies to analyze all that data using an NVIDIA blueprint over OCI. And finally, the vehicle route optimizer based on the QOP NVIDIA blueprint help company to analyze real-time data, okay, and allocate resources wisely, okay. And what we are seeing in particular, this happening here in Europe, that by 2030, all the different companies that has ban for logistic, for instance, has to move to electric van, EVs, and the restriction or constraint that we have with electric van is completely different to what we have with petrol vans. So there are different constraints that we need to analyze, and all that data in real time, that is where QOP or the vehicle route optimizer blueprint come into play, okay? With that, let me show you just in 1 minute, I will jump into my other screen, what is the console, so you can start using it. Perfect, I think that you can see my screen. This is the OCI console. Here, navigation menu. Eventually, if you click on the Accelerator pack, it will take you to Resource Manager. That what is actually the core of the Accelerator pack is a blueprint, the OCI blueprint, with different settings and recipes that we set up for you, so you have to go to the entire process of customizing the recipes, right? So in here, you can pick up one of these different packs, VSS, Enterprise Rack, but using GenAI services, you can pick up any of them, right? You click it, and what is take it to a standard resource management deployment process, okay? You have to complete some of this field, okay, with some information, some fields like admin user, password, admin email, the footprint that you have for for this deployment, because depending on the solution of the pack, you have a small, medium, or large footprint to support the workloads, okay? So you complete all the steps, you review it, you approve it, and everything will be deployed to you within 45, 15 minutes, okay? That is the time that's required to deploy the different clusters. Once you have it there, that will give you a URL to the solution. In this case, in here, I have the AIQ blueprint using NVIDIA AIQ blueprint running on top of OCI. And here, I have this agent that is Enterprise Rack, and I can just ask anything because I can create a collection. You can upload a collection, a certain amount of document, and you can add everything. In this case, I have the admin guide for DB26AI, and I can ask, how can I drop a table, okay? That will query all the documents that we have in the collection, and the agent will provide information that is coming up from that document, okay? With the actually also with the reference. It's taking a while. There you go. Okay. Here I have all the information that is pulling out from the different sources. In this case, the source is the PDF admin guide from DB26AI. And the other solution that I mentioned is the one that is QOpt, that is for vehicle route optimization, where we have this constraint where we have to allocate resources wisely. In this case, we have, and this is a front end that we generated for demo purposes. Here we have what we call a warehouse or a depot, and we have here 5 different locations. If we click here solve problem, and we can pick up any of the model that we have within OCI, this will give me, using the QOp library from NVIDIA, will give me different options to solve this problem. Okay, it will give me the best option and allocation of the different resources, how will be the track, the routes, and everything. And I can even make questions like, hey, add another vehicle, right? And I send it to the model, and the model would interface with the library and all the different services that we have in the back, and will provide a solution based on this new variable. So just keep in mind that this is happening in real time. So if you have an EV fleet, right, and there are different like weather changes or traffic changes, everything, this is feeding on real time QOp, the solution, and it's notifying every single van changes on the route to get the best and optimized route for those services, right? With that said, what we are offering here with the Accelerator pack is first a solution that allows you to reduce the friction to move from pilot to production. And on top of that, different ready-to-use solutions, okay, like BSS, AIQ, and QOp to use in your business. We will keep growing our ecosystem and our different solution and pack as we move forward. With that said, I will just get back to you, Tara and Chris. Appreciate the time.
All right.
No, that's great. I mean, everything we can do to help customers, right? Like you said, it takes 45 minutes. Could you imagine how long it would take to do this, say, 5 years ago? Right? I mean,
I
45 minutes, I'm spoiled these days. I don't know about you, but 45 minutes is like, oh my God, I have to wait 45 minutes. So not very long ago, it would have been like 2 weeks. Hey, we got to provision a server and it's not shipped yet, and all those problems, right? It's amazing what and how fast things go.
So that is a very good point, Chris. And just let me tell you that based on the customer on the enterprise level, and several pilot that we are working with customers, the average time is between 4 to 6 weeks only on building the infrastructure, And now we are talking about 45 minutes.
Yeah, I can go to lunch and come back and it's done.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone again for spending your time here with us today. We will be back with more updates next month. We have this the second Tuesday of every month at the same time. In the meantime, be sure to check out our deeper dive webinars that can be found at oracle.com/developer/events. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you at the next one. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tara. Thanks, Al.